Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, we are talking about another exciting new card from the upcoming Crimson Invasion expansion. It's a card we don't talk about very often, a Pokemon that's gotten very little love on this channel. It's Gourgeist. Now, to be fair, Gourgeist evolves from Pumpkaboo, and Pumpkaboo has got, well, a lot of discussion. I'm not sure how much love it's gotten on this channel, but of course, you know, there's the whole Night March thing. Regular viewers will know I've mentioned Night March once or twice. Is it finally time for Gourgeist to rip the spotlight away and become the centre of attention? Well, it is a psychic Pokemon, which means you're hitting a good weakness at the moment against Pokemon like, for instance, Garbodor and Espeon GX. A retreat cost of 3 is annoying, but as I always say, it does open up the use of Heavy Ball. And a weakness to darkness is actually pretty nice. Most psychic Pokemon are weak to psychic, which means you have a weakness to Garbodor, Espeon, etc. But that's not the case with ghost Pokemon like Gourgeist, because you get that psychic typing, but then you get the darkness weakness. Now, there is every possibility that something like Speed Darkrai becomes quite big, and that ends up hitting you for weakness, but to be perfectly honest, you've still got only 120 HP. It's not like you're some massive tank Pokemon anyway. Although, to be fair, as we'll talk about later, bodybuilding dumbbells can help with that. Overall, yeah, pretty good weakness, although the 120 HP is kind of low. So the first attack here for a single Psychic Energy is Confuse Ray. You just confuse your opponent's active Pokemon. For those who don't know, confusion means that you stay in the active, and if you want to attack, you flip a coin. If heads, your attack works. If tails, your attack fails and you take 3 damage counters, although you can retreat out of it. Fun fact, in the early days, you would have to flip a coin to retreat out of confusion. It's alright. I mean, we've seen confusion be used with Espeon GX. The thing is, Espeon gets to do 30 damage plus confusion. Confusion here is really just buying a turn, hoping your opponent doesn't want to risk the confusion flip, doesn't have a switch, etc. It's fine, but it really is just, let's try and slow them down. Let's try and buy ourselves an extra turn. It's not an attack that's going to win you the game or anything silly like that. It is just, it's alright. It's not great, but it's a nice little attack. The main attack here is a second attack. 2 colourless energy, which of course means you can use double colourless energy, so that you can pay this attack cost with just a single energy attachment. 10 damage, not good. Before doing damage, you may discard any of your Pokemon tools in play. This attack does 40 more damage for each tool discarded in this way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now we are talking. Because if you discard 5 tools, for instance, then you get to be doing 210 damage. Chuck in a Kukui, you got a KO on something like a Gardevoir. Or indeed, just discard 6 tools, and then you're doing 250, and you are getting that KO on Gardevoir. Not Metagross, though, because Metagross will have the resistance. Although, again, Kukui, and you are good. Now, one important rule in Query, and again, we don't have an English version of this, we have a Japanese version. Pokebeach.com has the translation, and I believe the translation, I've asked somebody else to check it, and they have confirmed it. However, you know, these all could change by the time they come over. So, as it stands, you discard the tool before you do damage. That means that if you've got a choice band attached to Gourgeist, and you choose to discard that choice band to do an extra 40 damage, that choice band is not there, because it says before doing damage. So you don't add the 30 with choice band, which is a little bit annoying given that you're giving up the 30 damage for choice band to do an extra 40 damage by discarding the choice band. It is far from ideal, but unfortunately, if you discard the choice band, you don't do the extra damage. But of course, this attack can do a huge amount of damage. Not only that, but it's encouraging you to play around with Pokemon tools. And we've got an awful lot of good Pokemon tools around at the moment. Floatstone to give any of your Pokemon free retreat. Fighting Fury Belt, which gives basic Pokemon 40 more HP and allows them to do 10 more damage. The aforementioned Choice Band, allowing any Pokemon to do 30 more to an EX or a GX. Bodybuilding Dumbbell, does, which gives your stage 1s an extra 40 HP. Although do be careful discarding that off your active Gourgeist if you've got more than 120 damage on you. All of these can really help. So you get the advantage of the tools and then you discard them, do a huge amount of extra damage. And you can KO anything doing this. You play enough tools, you discard enough tools, you can literally get a one-hit KO on anything. Although there are some issues with doing so. First of all, you lose the tools. So if you get rid of a floatstone attached to a bench Pokemon, your opponent can then use Guzma to drag it in the active and it might end up stuck there because you no longer have the floatstone to give it free retreat. If you get rid of the bodybuilding dumbbells, you lose that extra 40 HP. If you get rid of the choice band, you're no longer doing that extra 30 to EXs and GXs. So tools are good, but you're basically playing them to discard them, and when you discard them, you lose the advantage you would have had you kept the tools. This does also make you vulnerable to Garbodor. Now, although you're not being hit for weakness by Garbodor, which is good, it still will only take 6 tools for them to get a KO on you. And when you start discarding all of these tools, things go very wrong very quickly. Having said that, you can still get a few KOs using this. You are doing 50 damage discarding 1 tool, 90 damage discarding 2 tools. Let's face it, you could always use something like Tapu Lele to Wonder Tag for a Wally. You could get a turn 1 Gourgeist, attach a double colourless, discard a couple of tools and be taking prizes from your first turn. Now, you're probably better off just waiting till turn 2, because especially if you go first, you can't attack anyway. But it means early KOs are a real possibility. Maybe in the mid to late game, you might not have enough tools in order to be able to take these big KOs, but certainly in the early game you could take some cheeky prizes, or you could have another Pokemon rocking in the early game and just use Gourgeist to come and sweep for a big prize in the mid to late game. The other big issue we've got is that we don't have a good way to recover tools at the moment. We've lost Eco Arm. Now we still have Puzzle of Time, but that's a little bit awkward. You play 2 of them to get 2 tools back. You might as well just play 2 other tools. And of course the other option here is you could just play a whole bunch of different tools here. Puzzle of Time doesn't make a huge amount of sense. You could just play more tools. We did mention the Cinccino yesterday, which either does 80 damage for 1 energy or allows you to grab 2 cards from your discard pile into your hand. Essentially, you ask your opponent if you can have those 2 tools back. If they say no, you do 80 damage. Cinccino can get any cards you want, but generally in this deck you'll be wanting to get the tools. So either your opponent lets you get those 2 tools back that lets you do an extra 80 damage with Gourgeist, or they let you do 80 damage with Cinccino. Either way, you're getting an extra 80 damage, and that's quite funky. But in Expanded, we've got so many more options. We've got Eco Arm, which allows you to just take 3 tools and put them back into your deck. Great in Expanded, don't have it in Standard. Similarly, we've got the Toolbox Sigilif, which can have up to 4 tools at a time, meaning it's going to be easier for you to put more tools on the field so that you can discard them using Gourgeist attack. And of course, don't forget we've got Tool Drop Trubbish, who does 20 damage for every tool attached to all of your Pokemon. So there's a nice little bit of synergy here in that you can use Trubbish to do 20 damage for every tool attached to all of your Pokemon, or Gourgeist to discard those tools and do 40 damage for each tool you discarded. Of course, discarding a tool with Gourgeist is twice as good as using it to attack with Trubbish, but then of course it's a one-shot thing. In Expanded, we've got a lot more options with Sigilif and Trubbish and Eco Arm. In Standard, I like this. But the problem is that you're in this awkward situation where either you can use the tools early game to get some cheeky early prizes on a stage 1 with 1 energy attachment, or you can use it in the mid to late game to take a couple of big KOs, but you're unlikely to have the tools you need all throughout the game to be taking all of these KOs. Having said that, you could combine it with something like Garbodor, either the one that blocks abilities to slow your opponent down, give you more time, or the one that does 20 damage for every item in your opponent's discard pile, so that you've got an alternate attacker here. Having said that, if you only use a second attack on Gourgeist here, it is literally just for colourless energy. So this could be teched into any deck whatsoever, and this could give you a psychic type attacker. As long as you're playing a few tools and some energy of some description, you can always use Gourgeist as a psychic attacker in any deck whatsoever. Now, I'm not going to go into it in a huge amount of detail. Maybe we'll give him his own video in the future. We'll see how we're doing for time, but I would remiss if I didn't give a brief shout out to Oranguru, also coming in Sun and Moon 4 Crimson Invasion. It can do 70 for free energy, which, to be perfectly honest, is a little bit rubbish, and annoyingly, it's not even better than Charizard, although it is on a basic, not a stage 2, so I'm calling it better than Charizard. But for 1 psychic energy, you get to take 3 tool cards from your discard pile and put them into your hand. Problem is, you may well be giving up a prize to do this, plus it's got a retreat cost of 2, although you'll be playing 4 Floatstone to fuel Gourgeist anyway, so not the end of the world here, because you could literally use Oranguru to grab a Floatstone, then attach to Oranguru, retreat and attack with Gourgeist. But it seems a little bit clunky giving up a turn of a real attack just to get those free tools back, so fun option. Not something that you really need, but fun nonetheless. I like Gourgeist, I like the potential. My only real problem here is you do not have a good way of recovering tools, which means I don't think you're going to have enough tools throughout the entire game. Either way, I'm giving Gourgeist free Wassies. It attacks for colourless energy, can be put in any deck whatsoever, and even if you don't have enough tools for the whole game, you can either have them for cheeky KOs in the early game or big KOs in the late game. Either way, there is potential here. But I, ladies and gentlemen, would like to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. That's where the live action happens. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus pods, jump ahead in the queue to play me on stream, go and check out patreon.com/PTCGRadio. It's wonderful. But then again, I am a little bit biased. The most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.